Party, as I said earlier, they're the cavalry coming over the hill as far as I'm concerned. God bless them.
Kids stay interested. Okay. Okay. You know, it's interesting. You can look at the basis of the first Tea Party and run way back in 1774. The price of tea actually went down. A lot of folks don't realize this. The real issue, actually, in some ways, wasn't the taxes, is they gave a monopoly in the East India Company. That was the issue. And I bring that up because, for me, again, admittedly, the guy that came back from war saw that he was losing the Constitution that he had raised his right hand to defend 20 years ago. And I came to that first Tea Party in the history of South Carolina in February of 2009. And they expected 30 people, by the way. There was about 3,000 people who were out there when I spoke as a second speaker. And I thought about the history of the first Tea Party. Because the pundits would say, oh, it's about money, you're greedy, and everything else. No, it was about people that were brave. Because I'll tell you, that first Tea Party, there were politicians out in the crowd, kind of underneath their coats, looking around, worried that this would be one of these groups that's too extremist, you stay away from. And it was funny to watch, because as a candidate, Jen Lee and I spoke at that first Tea Party, we stayed with it. And we watched the metamorphosis to where the politicians were stepping back, we stay away, to, wow, this is a popular thing. Everyone's Tea Party. And so by April 15th, you start seeing everybody was a Tea Party. And we're all just, Tea Party is in a bit, I stayed with it. But the thing I noticed during the campaign was an attempt by the Republican Party to bring it under and make it a wing of the Republican Party. And I am firmly opposed to that. Because running as a candidate, I'm a conservative first, before I'm a Republican. And one thing with the Tea Party I noticed is that the great thing about it is that there are independents in the Tea Party. There are some Democrats in the Tea Party, believe it or not. But here's the thing is that in general, the whole thing that holds them together is the Constitution. And what I saw it doing, and again, it was the reason why I did get involved in politics after coming back from war, was they were pulling the Republican Party back to where it should be, which is back to the right. And so as Republican Party chairman, one thing I will not do is I will not make an adjunct for the Republican Party. I'll ensure that I work with them. Thanks, Mark.
Mr. Brown, what role should the South Carolina Federation of Republican Women have with the South Carolina GOP?
Anybody that's been in politics more than 2 minutes knows that the real work is done by the women of the Republican Federation. No question about that. Not only is that the pat answer that any of these guys would have given if they had a chance to grab a microphone first, but it is honestly the truth. It really is the truth, and we all know that. I mean, every task that's out there that needs to be done, the women have just stepped up and they do it again and again, and they have their networks. I tell you what, if you can get a couple of the leaders of the Republican Women's Group behind you, your name can get spread in a hurry, and I've seen that happen. I appreciate that very much. So the point is we need to encourage them. That's one of our auxiliaries that we need to congratulate and promote and sponsor every time we have the opportunity. But I'll also take this moment to say this, that's not the only auxiliary that we need to promote. We really have to work diligently in regard to our young people, whether it be college Republicans and young Republicans. As I mentioned earlier, I had quite an involvement in that being a state chairman. I was up in Maryland at Johns Hopkins University. But we need to bring in lots of young people. We don't want to have a meeting where you see nothing but older white folks in that room. But the Women's Club is a good way for us to continue to reach out, because the Women's Club will do that and then make a real effort to reach out as we need to do on behalf of the Republican Party as a whole. But I say thank goodness for the Republican women. I appreciate you having us here tonight.
Thanks. It's funny, Susan's always telling me, Bill, you need to appeal to the female vote. You're an Army Air Room Ranger infantry guy. You've got to come across and show a softer side. So smiling, listening, and coming back. I joke about that because I told her when I first started running, again, I've never run before, that this party, it's amazing, is really in many ways run by the women. I mean, everywhere I go, it's about the Republican women's meetings, Republican women's sitting on debates, Republican women's just about everything. And so that has been an amazing thing that I've watched myself, is what the Republican women have done. I mean, the motivation I've seen, I don't know what it is, but y'all set an example for us men when it comes to the Republican Party. And it puts a lot of the Democrats, of the Republicans are a bunch of old, white male chauvinists, whatever. Because again, the true folks running it are in many ways, many times, these women's groups. And the funny thing too is, obviously, they still maintain the true sort of traditional beliefs and structure. So I've been amazed. I've really enjoyed, as a candidate, being around, seeing what the work the Republican women have done. I praise you for it. And I'll continue to encourage as much as I can as your chairman, work with you, and thanks.
I think the short answer is yes, ditto, I agree, but I want to expand on that. When I first started running in late November, early December, I was looking at the list of the meetings. And, we got 45 organized county Republican meetings, and we had a bunch of Tea Party meetings, and I don't know how many Republican women's luncheons and dinners. So I had the luxury, I guess, and a really nice ideal of being able to speak in about, I think, 17 or 18 different Republican women's organizations. I don't know what it is, everywhere you go. You go to church meetings, the women drive the deal. You come to the Republican Party, y'all drive it. Thank y'all for doing this. You really are the backbone of the party. All jokes aside about the surprise mother-in-law I used earlier, y'all drive this party and you make it happen. Thank y'all, and God bless you for what you do.
Well, I believe we're ready for our closing statements now. Oh, Mr. Connolly, did you get a chance to add?
Yes.
Everybody got a chance? Okay, just a minute. So let's go ahead and we'll start at the other end of the room this time.
Thanks, I appreciate that. I'm actually going to pick up sort of where I left off. I had a prepared speech before I came here, and I'm going to do something different because I think you need to hear from me. I came into this race late, and I came in against two good men. I want to make that clear up front. Here's the struggle I went through in coming out of my own election. You all know me from the lieutenant governor's race and what I learned. I learned a lot from it. But what I learned is I love the party. I love what it stands for. But there are things that we need to fix, particularly in the primary system, to make it so much better of a party. And in November, I was licking my wounds from 15 months in Afghanistan, 15 months of running for office, and a lot of you folks called from out of state and asked me to run, and it just was not the right time for a bunch of reasons. Another round in January, and a couple weeks back with my family in Hollywood, a great place to take a family, but I get a call saying, you're not going to believe what was just said when an opponent dropped out. It mentioned your name. It drove a bunch of calls in. Susan and I spent 3 days in heartfelt prayer because, again, we're running as good people, and it's late in the race. But here's the thing, is at the end of that, put all sort of manly wisdom aside, is I felt the call to where I had to voice the issues of the things I saw in 15 months of running for office. In those 15 months, I saw so much that I could improve if I became chairman, particularly in helping the sort of Tea Party outsiders like myself have a chance, come in, be part of the process, that I could help them in the process, that I could take down some of the power of the money, the special interest, and those sorts of things, bring them in. I've got that knowledge. I learned how to fundraise, and I've got a passion for what we do in the Republican Party. Whoever's elected, I'm going to support them 100%. And again, you have three good choices, my opinion. But I do have something that's unique, and that's running a hard race for state level. Thank you so much for your time and for giving me the chance and giving me your thought and your vote. God bless you all.
Thank y'all all for coming. I want to especially thank Kathy Lord and these new Republican conservative voters in her homeschool class. They're here because you're here. I'm here because you're here. This is not possible unless all of us work together, unify our party, pull all the factions in, find the common ground, do the fundraising, make people believe in the South Carolina Republican Party, forge and build a conservative permanent majority that we can be proud of. I spent the last 5 months going to 44 counties with GOP activists and Tea Party leaders, talking to them, building relationships, connecting with the people who do the work of the party. Because nobody, no matter how great we are or anything, can do this work alone. This is going to take us working together. You know, guys, I'm one of y'all. I've been involved in the party at every level for 20 years now. I've walked the neighborhoods, I've waved the signs, I've licked the stamps and put the envelopes together and stuffed envelopes. I've worked for candidates at the local, the state, and the national level. I have the political experience of having worked at the party at all these different levels. I have the fundraising experience and the sales and marketing background. I have the business experience from having built my own businesses and helped other people's businesses become successful to take teams of people and forge a group of people. Because see, if we're going to be the buckle of the Bible Belt, if we're going to be the reddest of the red, we've got to have leadership that has vision and can articulate that to other people. Thank y'all. I appreciate your support on May the 7th. God bless you.
I'm running for this position to be the next chairman of the South Carolina Republican Party because I believe in the conservative movement. For me, it's heartfelt. It's been a lifetime studying these issues, being a part. I've actually been engaged in Republican politics since 1976. That's 35 years I've been involved at some level or another. I've done all these things because it's what I believe in. And I'm going to tell you there are 3 critical reasons why I believe that you should support me as the most qualified of the 3 men that are running in this race. Number 1, I don't make any money in politics. I have my own law practice. My wife practices law. Together we support our family and don't make any money in the political world. There's no sin in being a political consultant, but I don't think you should have a political consultant as the chairman of the South Carolina Republican Party. I think that's an important point. By making my money, earning my living outside of politics, I'm free to speak my mind. I think you've heard me here tonight. I'm not afraid to tell you exactly what I believe, and I think it's that type of truth, talking to people directly, that will garner respect. I think that's important for we as a Republican Party to have that respect. So that's important, number 1. Number 2, I'm the only guy up here who's actually run the presidential preference primary in a large county. I was chairman of the Greenville County Republican Party in 1996 when we put on that presidential preference primary. We had over 900 volunteers manning the precincts throughout Greenville County. That is a big operation. I know what's involved with doing that on that level, and I'm prepared to do that on a statewide level. And that is the single biggest task that the next chairman is going to have. And I'm the only guy that's got that background prepared to do that. And number 3, the issue that I mentioned several times tonight, closing the primaries. I'm the one guy that's pushed that. I've been leading on that issue. I know that very well. I know the law. I'm fighting that issue in the courts. I know how to implement that statute to change the law. And I would suggest to you that's the single biggest obstacle the open primary is, the single biggest obstacle to us taking control of the Republican Party on behalf of the conservative movement. I ask you to stand with me and let's make the Republican Party the vehicle for the conservative movement. Thank you.
First of all, I want to thank Susan for being our moderator tonight, and we have her a small token. Actually, I picked it out. It's a really nice token. It's the one I would pick if I got the pick. So you can look at pictures of Ronald Reagan and all of them. I hope you like Ronald Reagan, because now you got pictures of him. No, this can be read. But anyway, I'm going to turn it over to Nikki, and we're going to draw for the door prizes, and then after that, we're going to pass out the ballots for the straw poll, and you've got to vote before you can eat, and then you get dessert. That's right.
Thank you, Katrina. Thank you again so